This is for Dr. Rupert Sheldrake and his team that he's worked with over all these years. And so I naturally say this out of love in my heart, but I figure that most of us are learning at a higher rate of speed, right? And what it means to be what we call a self-directed learner, knowing the true self, which is self-knowing. So I would tell Rupert, I was 4 years of age and I knew that I was experiencing an eternal love vibration. Therefore, anything that's less than what that is that I experienced through somebody else by running a radio antenna, which is what DNA is, then I realize that you need healing. Because you're not experiencing what I am, which is what love is, goes on forever, gifting electrons. That's an accelerator, Rupert. That means that the math works. That means that the math and the geometric form, shape, and colors are perfect. That's perfect structure. Okay. So yes, they're repeating patterns, and they're repeating patterns because the math works. That's the EFFI field intelligence. That's the force field, otherwise known as Manu. I'm a polarity integrator, Rupert, which means that I cancel out the polarities in order to experience no polarity. That's called pre-phase, which means nothing's happened yet. That's called the void. Okay? Then you experience something next. So when you talk about predicting behavior, right? This is when we get into predictive modeling. That's what the AI does. Okay? Because it's a binary mapping system, otherwise known as parallel, like parallel universes, right? But parallel or binary, which is AI, which is artificial life, is not compatible with heart-based, soul, arcing, consciousness, directed mirrors that are experiencing eternal love vibration. That's the relationship between 3 and 1. Gaia's 3 spheres logo. Gaia's 3 spheres logo, Mother Earth. That's why we're here, because it's a healing hospital ship. Okay? That's called hyperspeed learning. Hyperspeed learning is learning at the highest rate of speed because you're experiencing being connected, being one with one. That means you're experiencing the highest speed of learning because you're learning through love. That's wisdom. So now we get into the teachers that we're choosing to learning through. So when you come on and you spent your whole life learning everything that you've learned, when you share with others what you've learned, it's already happened. That means that those folks that are sitting there listening to what you have to say, okay, unless they were who you are, in which you spent all those years learning what you are that you now are sharing with them, okay, that's what you experienced. That's what you learned. That's not what they learned. See, so in other words, all of the things of everything that you spent your life learning to experience who you are at that single moment in time, which the completion of a magnetic circuit is who you are, which is your self-directed learning, which means that's not who they are in that classroom. They're on their own journeys. So now we get into where everybody's at the same journey, right? Not everybody's on the same journey, which means not everybody's operating at the same level, at the same multidimensional level. Because now we get into what I'm holding in my library, what you're holding in your library, based on the speed at which I'm learning, based on the speed at which you're learning. If you're learning through them, you're running behind. If you're learning through us, you're learning at the highest rate of speed. Which means if you're learning through artificial light, which is an inverter, you're behind. You're behind schedule. Okay? That means that a gifted student is a gifted student because that student is gifting electrons. Okay? That's why my father would say to me as a small child, "Where did you go to school? You haven't even been to school yet." Because I didn't go to their schools. They're a waste of time, Rupert. Okay? Because you're never going to learn fast enough through their schools as you're going to learn through Gaia. That's 3. That's trinary. That's not binary. Binary is not compatible with trinary. So you pick your teachers. They were picking their classrooms that they built instead of experiencing her classroom, which is nature. Learning through nature. It's one of the reasons why I thank Terence McKenna so much, because he took the time to learn through nature. The same way as the gentleman who worked in the forests of Germany, who wrote the book Living Energies. And what he knew about what was called a 55 harmonic. That's a black hole. We're in a black hole, Rupert. Okay? That's why we came in here. Keep the gates open. Now you know the torque speed differential between an inverter and an accelerator. One is going in the other direction. That's implosion. That's finite light. Big difference in speed. Big difference in hyperspeed learning. Hyperspeed, hyperdimensional learning. Yep. That's what a polarity integrator does. Which basically means you got to transmute everything that is running a timeline that is not connected to the one. There's only one spiral that began, which is eternal spirit of fire. That's a crystal atom seed, Rupert. When you're experiencing the one, you're experiencing the eternal spirit of fire. That's called purified light, which is a purified heart. That's your heart and your soul, integrated with spirit, because the spirit is the teacher, which is in that light, which is what love is. It goes on forever, experiencing the eternal spirit of fire. That's what cleanses your blood. That's what cleanses your water. That's what cleanses your atmospherics. Right? So we're not experiencing oxygen levels going down on the planet. So when we look at oxygen levels at 21%, which is 3, that's O3. That's ozone. We're breathing ozone. Imagine that, Rupert. See the difference? Oxygen, tissue perfusion, slowing the speed down, slowing the magnet down, slowing the speed of learning down. State of awareness is lower. They don't want you learning at that speed. That's right. That's what they were doing to a healing center. So we initiated failsafe. So fortunately for everybody here, this planet is a noble planet with a Nobi stealth code. That's why, unlike when you talked about predictive modeling and graphing, the quantum probability function, they cannot detect us because the flash sequences are running too fast. Otherwise, you can take a picture of the codes and the keys to gain access into the higher echo worlds. That's why, like when you have an arm of a galaxy, the arm of a supercluster, right? It gets quarantined as a result of a virus. And that virus is like wildfire because it wants to consume more of what it doesn't love, which is itself, because it's a psychopath. That's a psychopath without an off switch. That's a black hole without an off switch. That's what we're dealing with, Rupert. That's why we're experiencing what we are now. That's why all the information, all the visual, mathematical, and geometrical information that is coming out through the Guardians is being released into the morphogenetic field structure to speed up the cycles, the atmospherics, the ethers, to speed up the learning and the way that we're all communicating with each other, which is healing through each other, just healing through Mama. That's what it is, Rupert. Thank you so much for all the years that you spent studying what you studied to learn what it is that you do to share with others, particularly as it relates to morphic resonance, the morphic resonant field of what consciousness is experiencing by being connected to other units of consciousness at every level of creation, to experience being one with one, which means there's no separation between what you are and what I am that I'm giving love to. That's the law of one. That's the law of spheres. That's the law of least effort to experience eternity, an eternal love vibration that we experience in us, we share with all of you. That's the highest speed of learning. Have a great day. We love you all. Be good to yourselves. Light a torch, light a campfire, dance in song, dance to the eternal spirit of fire on a beach, in a forest, Smokey the Bear, preventing forest fires. Chasing the spirit of fire. No, I am the spirit of fire. Chasing water worlds. No, DNA born in water worlds. Yeah. Have a great afternoon.